Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet. Lakers driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. Chris McGee, James Woodley, Robert Horry. Brez will be joining us soon. We got Allie and Trudell working the post game via Zoom. Lakers lose to the Blazers. They're going to fall to 2-2 on the season. Heading out on the road here coming up for the first road trip of the season. One of these early season games, guys, where they looked great in spurts, but it was all Portland down the stretch. A little sloppy on the Lakers' part.
Yeah, I mean, when you're the champions and when you've beaten Portland and, just, 85, 90 days ago, you're the team to beat. Portland's a different team this year. They're healthier. They got healthier toward the end of the bubble, but they have their full strength now. And the key tonight, I think, was just the bench. The Lakers, without Caruso, only scored, I think, 23, 24 points compared to what Trent was able to do in that bench. They had like maybe 45, 47 points. And when you don't have AD at full, capacity, you're going to have some problems. And I thought, they had glimpses, but glimpses don't work against Portland because they have those dynamic guards. And then they had a supporting cast that came to play tonight. So, yeah, they're going to have to look at some video and make some corrections.
Yeah, the thing about that is they held Damian Lillard in check for that first half. But they held him in check, but they let Trent get away from him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And in the second half, Lillard got loose because he was worried about Trent, but Trent was still able to knock down some threes. The three ball really hurt the Lakers tonight. When you have guys like you used to have last season, you could run them off that three-point line. And tonight, AD didn't look like he had the energy, like that calf was kind of bottom, so they weren't able to run Portland off the three-point line and pass, so they was able to knock down more threes.
I think you guys bring up great points. Plus 18 from three for Portland. James, you mentioned the bench. The Lakers are number one in the league, but tonight it's 45-23 in favor of Portland. 28 of those are coming from Gary Trent Jr. And you're right, Rob. I mean, Dame kind of smelled it in that fourth quarter. Trent got him there, and he's one of the best closers in the game for a reason. You look at those three guards, CJ, Dame, and Gary Trent Jr. They have 15 threes between them. Trent Jr. had 7 of them, James. Billy mentioned this during broadcast. He only played 6 minutes on Saturday night. He had 0 points. Tonight, he came to play.
Well, when you talk about a dynamic duo, some nights they have a dynamic trio. Because when Trent's going like that, when Damian was out of the game, it was almost as if he was in the game because Trent was doing exactly what Damian does. So, that's a dangerous player, and you can't allow that third guy, to dominate as if he, does it every night. So without Caruso, I think Caruso's a big part of their defense. Not that he could stop anybody, but he's active hands, steals, deflections. But it just got away from him. They had 3 hot guards tonight. And I got to tell you, Norkus didn't score a lot of points, but he was key. He had some big buckets down the stretch and got some layups. So they played well, better than the Lakers down the stretch.
Before you get in there, Rob, because you mentioned Nurkic. Nurkic had 12 rebounds. Cantor had 14. That's 26 rebounds between their two bigs.
Yeah, but that's how it's going to be. When you have guys that you know exactly what they're going to do, I think these guys have been together a long time, even though Cantor has been in and out, but he's been Portland enough. He took them to the playoffs a couple years back. So he knows what those guards are going to do, and they position themselves perfectly for rebounds. And when you have that, that makes it easier. Like if you look at the Lakers play, everybody's outside the paint. Our biggest guy, Marcus Gasol, outside the paint. So you don't really get that many rebounds. But the way Portland plays, they crash the boards, they drive, they penetrate, they kick. And the bigs know their role. Yeah. When you know your role, it's easy to play the game. Crash the boards and try to get your own shots.
Kind of missed Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee tonight. Marcus Gasol is big, but not as active as Dwight, not as physical. So you could see, the difference than last year and this year.
Yeah, Marcus Gasol only playing 19 minutes, not playing there in the late in the fourth quarter. Listen, defensively, we talked about the Lakers they're going to have to find their way, giving up 33 points in the fourth quarter. They're still trying to figure out their coverages, different combinations. But it starts with the turnovers, too, on the offensive end, James. Some sloppy play. Lakers getting beat in transition. Tonight, 15 turnovers for 18 points for Portland.
Yeah, can't allow that to happen with a quick team that gets up and down. I thought Hood played a great game, but the Lakers got to take better care of the basketball. When you're playing against active hands like these guys, they're not big, but they do a good job of collapsing when you drive, deflections, and then they're out doing this. So, yeah, you got to take care of the basketball. Can't turn it over, can't make marginal passes that you think are there, and then before you know it, they're intercepting and going down for buckets.
One of the keys I thought in the first half was, they shot 11 free throws in the first half. They only shot 4 in the second half. And if you'd have told me that, I was like, the Lakers played well because they played better defense. but they couldn't stop that three ball like we just talked about. But that's just, you look at this game, it's signs of improvement. There's so much room to improve this early in the season because you look at the connection that you look at film, you look at the connection that they're not having with Montrez. Montrez is a guy who's been averaging almost 20 points a game. Tonight, he wasn't used enough for me because when you're not scoring like that, go inside to a guy like Montrez. I know you have AD, who's a $20 million man, and all this kind of stuff, but sometimes guys like Montrez have an advantage.
I'm curious, guys. I feel like in the past, Lakers 2-2 with this kind of a team losing a game at home to Portland. Maybe there's people tilting a little bit. You're starting to overthink this. There's just a different feeling. It's a short off season. Lakers are the champs. It's almost like, we talked a lot about in the preseason, James. You kind of expect nights like this.
You can't overthink it. I mean, the Lakers have a big target on their back, too. They are the champions. Portland has always played well against the Lakers. So you have to consider that, they're a healthier team than they were during the regular season. So, you're not going to win every game. The Lakers, I'm sure they think they could have played better, but it's not anything to panic about. They'll come back, try to recover. It was a back-to-back game. They were a little short on their bench as well. So don't panic, but you have to be aware of it.
Yeah, Lakers are now 2-2, and they're heading out on the road for 4, 2 in San Antonio, 2 in Memphis. Let's get you to the highlights. We'll take you out to Staples Center.
The Lakers get off to a nice lead, but they let it get away. 58-54 Portland. Time now to check in with the Access Sportsnet studio. It's the Jack in the Box halftime report.
All right, thank you, Billy and Stu. Big offensive quarter, James and Rob, for Portland.
Very. Especially that second quarter, they came out with 36 points compared to the first quarter when they only had 22. But, there's a way to stop them. You can see it. That they had to pressure them up, and Dame's getting rid of the rock.
Yeah, we knew that dynamic duo would come to town. They're the two guys that are, doing the job. Lakers had a fast start, but AD having a tough time getting going after missing the game, and that's what's missing offensively. But defensively, they got to correct some things in the third quarter, try to slow Tucker, Covington, slow some of the other guys down.
Jack in the Box halftime report starts right after this. Hello again, alongside James Worthy and Robert Ory. I'm Chris McGee. This is the Jack in the Box halftime report. Let's get you out to Staples Center for the first half highlights. LeBron James looking to lead the Lakers against the Trailblazers for the third win of the season. First quarter, James with a steal, and LeBron was off to an early hot start. Lakers 14-5, building a lead here, James. It's KCP hot early. He had 3 threes in the first quarter.
Yeah, they were able to get a fast start, especially the defensive end, capitalized, and then Pope hit him from both sides of the corner, but then Portland making a run back.
Yeah, Gary Trent Jr. was on fire. Here's Kyle Kuzma. Get the Lakers to 30-22 after one. Trent Jr. again, another 3. Trailblazers now 39-35. Later on in the quarter, Rob, here's Schroeder with a nice pass to LeBron for the lay-in.
The thing about Schroeder, he dodged the hole quickly, so you got to pay attention. He laid that little layup for LeBron there for 2.
Little high pick and roll. Schroeder AD. Schroeder goes to the rack himself, gets another bucket, and that's where we stand at the half. Downtown Staples Center. Portland leads 58-54. They win the quarter 36-24. LeBron James leading the way offensively for the Lakers with 14 points on 6 of 9 from the field and 5 rebounds. More to come on the Jack in the Box halftime report. LeBron dropped a dozen points in the first quarter. Things looked great early, but the Lakers trailed the Blazers by 4 at the break. As we mentioned, LeBron James off to a hot start, 14 points. That's the 999th straight game, 999 James in a row that he's had 10 or more points. The last time he scored less than 10 was his 4th season, 2007. So he tied KG last night. Tonight that puts him at 4th all-time, 1,261 games with 10 or more points. Of course, the captain at 1,509.
Yeah, you think about it, somebody that great, they should score, at least 10 points every night. But it's over a long time, it's hard to do. Sometimes you have a cold night, sometimes there's an injury, sometimes you just don't have it. But that's quite an accomplishment right there. I dipped into the below 10 a couple times. I wasn't happy about that.
It happens sometimes. You got guys as gunners, and then some nights it's not clicking no matter what you do.
Pretty impressive, by the way.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, that's
just look at that crew he's with. It's very impressive.
All right, guys. Gary Trent Jr. turned the game on a dime off the bench, 16 to lead all scores. Portland leads 58-54. Jack in the Box halftime report returns after.
Jack in the Box, or get it delivered.
And here are your game stats. Portland shooting 48%, leading 58-44 after that big second quarter, out-rebounding the Lakers 23-20, and the Lakers with 7 turnovers for 12 Portland points. What do you want to see, big game, James, here in the second half? Anthony Davis is only 2 points.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get going. Also, if you're going to have the dynamic duo scoring, you can't let their bench outscore your bench. So our bench is pretty good. They got to pick it up.
I want to see